Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to We Believe Digital Studios, downtown Jackson, Mississippi. 94 degrees, heading for 98 degrees. No real rain in sight, it looks like. Still been a month. I saw one report yesterday said we were down about 5 inches worth of rain at this point in the summer season, and that's not a rarity across the country. All kinds of areas really dried out, all kinds of risks of fires and so forth. But we've got about 19 stories to share with you today in our 30-minute news break program that we have Wednesdays and Fridays from 12 noon till 12:30. And so glad you're joining us. And if you have any questions at all about We Believe Digital, We Believe Digital Network, We Believe Digital Podcasts, We Believe Digital Radio, give us a call, 1-800-492-5186. We'll be glad to give you a tour of our studio, let you speak with one of our Crackerjack producers, and let you know what we have to offer here. And hopefully, we've got something that can help you meet your needs, either personally or promoting your business through advertising, podcasting, commercials, et cetera. So we'll kick off on the local level today in Jackson and Hinds. The first story is that leaders with the Jackson Public School District reported yesterday testing irregularities at 7 different schools in the district. So the JPS superintendent, Dr. Eric Green, spoke on all the academic improvements within the district in all subject areas. He said, quote, "We've actually have seen improvement in all the content areas, all the subject areas that we've been tested in over the last year, and so it's huge progress for us. It's a testament to our scholars and our educators who are doing the really hard work and who have been committed to academic achievement." The Mississippi assessment results show student achievement reaches an all-time high. However, Green said he was notified by Mississippi Department of Education on Monday, August 14th, about the testing irregularities at 7 unidentified schools. Quote, "In the notification from MDE, we were directed to conduct an internal investigation to better understand what occurred in these schools, and we were given 15 working days to present back to MDE what our findings are. The testing irregularities were identified by Kavin Incorporated. That's a system that MDE utilizes to help ensure the assessment results are valid and reliable. And based on forensic data in the report, there was some abnormalities and some anomalies pointed out." So they're going to look into that more closely and hope it all turns out well on that and they get to the bottom of what's going on with that. Another news story here in Hinds County, the Board of Supervisors will be welcoming at least 2 new faces this next year. And there could be more new faces after the runoff election on August 29th. So when we look at the calendar, that's going to be a week from Tuesday, right? Let's see, the 18th, right? The 22nd will be Tuesday, a week from this coming Tuesday is the runoff elections. And what we know at this point, incumbent District 3 Supervisor Creedell Calhoun has lost his seat to former Mississippi Representative Deborah Butler Dixon. Calhoun joins District 2 Supervisor David Archie as the 2 incumbent supervisors to lose outright after the August 8th primary election. Got a quote here, "The people spoke," and this is from WJTV, "The people spoke, and I am proud of my record serving the people of Mississippi and Hinds County," Calhoun told JTV 12 News. In District 4, runoff has been set between incumbent Supervisor Vern Gavin, the current president of the board, and Wanda Evers. Evers was the top vote getter in the primary election and sees herself as the change District 4 needs. Quote, "Voters want change, and I'm going to change it." And that's what they want. That's what they're looking for. by them being a taxpayer, they want to see where the money's going. And I'm a change agent. We need to work on our infrastructure. We need to bring back the quality of life that Hinds County had years ago, according to Evers. Gavin, who should be in the runoff against, believes his record has earned him another term. He says, we have paved and improved more roads and bridges than in the past 10 years combined. We rated those roads. We rated them from 1 to 10, with 1 being the most urgent need and 10 being the ones that's the least needed at the time. A lot of people have sound bites and they don't understand and have the knowledge and wisdom of the job that's at hand. I know that I have that expertise, Gavin said. So a runoff will be held also in District 5, and that's between incumbent Supervisor Bobby Bobcat McGowan and Malcolm Johnson. So in District 1, Robert Graham won outright. So District 2 is the new incoming supervisor will be Anthony Tony Smith. District 3 will be Butler Dixon, Deborah Butler Dixon. And then we have runoffs in District 4, Vern Gavin versus Wanda Evers, and District 5, Bobcat McGowan versus Malcolm Johnson. So that's just a rundown on where we're at with the supervisors race. Interesting story here about the American Disabilities Act, and Hinds County has been told that they're going to start getting a $500 per day fine for every day that they fail to bring the Hinds County Courthouse into compliance with the American Disabilities Act. Now remember, the ADA law has been in effect since 1990. So if my math is right, that's 33 years that this law has been in effect. People have had a chance to improve the public buildings like the Hinds County Courthouse. So on the 7th month, the fine will go up to $750 per month. Scott Crawford, a local human rights activist in disability rights, said the courthouse needs a unisex, accessible bathroom on the first floor by April 2023, which was required, didn't happen. And consent was issued, consent decree. Hinds County Administrator Kenny Wayne Jones says they've been contracted and been in communication with a professional architecture firm and plans to fix these problems in the next 6 months. The ADA law has, again, been in effect since 1990, so caught asleep at the wheel with regard to basic access for people that have disabilities, to public buildings, in this case, the Hinds County Courthouse. And so the taxpayers are going to pay for the inaction of the county government. Really, really sad. So we're paying for the county government, and we're paying doubly now for their inaction over these years and years where they didn't get that fix put in. Another story, this one coming to you from the Clarion Ledger. With revenue shortfalls looming at every turn, the city of Jackson has proposed raising property taxes. It's a debate likely to play out in the coming weeks as Jackson Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba and Jackson City Council hold budget hearings to figure out what the city's finances will look like for the next fiscal year. At the end of Wednesday's 8-hour budget hearing, Lumumba and the City Financial Division presented a proposed millage rate increase to the council as one option to bring more money to the city. And just as a refresher, a millage rate is a figure used by government entities to calculate property taxes. 1 mil equates to $1 in taxes for every $1,000 of property's assessed values, or 1 cent on every 100 of assessed property value, according to Experian.com. Property taxes are used to support county and city governments, local school districts, according to the Mississippi Department of Revenue website. And before we leave on the local level, just in terms of opinion, we hear this talk about the Jackson Zoo. And, we're hearing the president of the city council, Aaron Banks, who now, I believe this is his third term as president, which I find to be interesting. There's people been on there for a good long while that have never served as president. And I don't know if that's because he wants it so bad or because they don't want it. I don't know. But they're talking about the zoo, and they're talking about chopping this zoo. And, they're talking about it being a dollars and cents issue. And something like, I think we told you the other day, 1.8 million in expenses every year compared to, 50,000, 55,000 in revenues. That doesn't match up at all. But I would just share that, it's just too easy to look at dollars and cents for every single thing. I think there are some carve-outs sometimes, some exceptions to the rule. And that zoo, 100 years old now, at one time, that zoo was the highest revenue producing item in the state of Mississippi. I mean, I hear talk from Jackson old timers about 150, 200,000 people a year coming to the zoo. I think I heard something the other day about maybe 40,000 now or something like that. But sometimes you just have to invest in things because it's part of the larger culture, and it's very, very important. In many respects, especially with our children and their growth and development. Something very, very exciting for kids to be able to go to see those animals, to learn about life and learn a little bit about biology and different things, and caring for the animals and caring in general. Just more to it than dollars and cents. It's simply my opinion, nothing more than that. Just want to share that with you. I hope that these guys can take a stronger look at all that, look into other areas to find money. Maybe we need to look at other areas where money could be being wasted and where we're not getting a return on the investment, and pour that into the zoo. And there's also other ideas, and how about setting up a brainstorming session, a roundtable with citizens, and get their input, get their ideas on how we can, get to the point of having a self-sustainable zoo operation. Moving on to the broader Mississippi news, once again, another day in Mississippi with no Republicans holding any kind of formal or official hearings about the TANF scandal. Up to $100 million pilfered away, stolen away under Republican leadership for pet projects. Just a sad thing. So in this respect, these people are not accountable. They're not accountable to the citizens when they refuse to hold hearings when you have money like that stolen. Of course, there's going to be a legal process, but it needs to be deeper than that, and people need to be held accountable. And obviously, they want to pass the buck on to the legal side of things. You know that one or two people didn't do all that on themselves. There's lots of people over there at that Capitol that had to know about what's going on. So let's wake up and do the right thing now, Republican legislators. Mississippi Medicaid dropping more than 18,000 kids from its rolls. During the most recent wave of disenrollments in July, more than 22,000 Mississippians were dropped, joining more than 29,000 terminated during the first wave in June. There was a law in effect, through the month of May, and so to keep things open. But since then, they've really been slashing these Medicaid rolls, and it disproportionately affects children. It makes your heart sick. So far, about 50,000 Mississippians in total have been dropped during what they call the unwinding period after the pandemic, which is set to continue until May of next year. Millions have been dropped nationally, with those numbers predicted to steadily rise. In another story, Brandon Presley, the Democratic nominee for governor, hammered Republican Governor Tate Reeves on Thursday for not doing enough to prevent the state's massive welfare scandal, while Reeves served 8 years as lieutenant governor. He was speaking in front of the DHS offices and told reporters that Reeves could have used the lieutenant governor's role as state Senate president to push more lawmakers to conduct more robust hearings, which we talk about every time on this show. Never happened. And Presley says because it's politically convenient for Reeves, now wants to deflect blame on his own failure to protect millions of dollars that were under his so-called watch as lieutenant governor when he was concurrently president of the Senate. Presley said he will say or do anything to get elected when speaking of Reeves. So we're just going to bow out here at the end of the first segment for a couple of commercials. We'll be right back with you.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
And welcome back to We Believe Digital Newsbreak. So glad you're here. Thank you for the comments, as always, in our chat. Mr. Williams talking about the zoo being a thing of the past, and I understand a lot of people feel that way. But you add in, unless they moved it. Isn't it ironic that Mr. Williams talking about moving the zoo? Because I just found out this morning at a meeting with a lifelong and really prominent Jackson person that over there behind Smith Willis Stadium, there is a plot of land that was set aside for the zoo years and years ago, and may still be. There's still no development on that land, and so who knows? Maybe that could work out. So we'll have to see how that goes. Over to Lincoln County, this judge over there declared a mistrial. This issue with the Brookhaven father and son, white people, accused of chasing and shooting at a black FedEx driver last year. The ruling came Thursday. Apparently, these people were charged with attempted first-degree murder, conspiracy, and shooting into a delivery van that DeMontario Gibson was driving on January 24th. Isn't that interesting? That was the very same day that those Rankin County people invaded that home over there and tortured those two black men. Those 5 or 6 Rankin County deputies and officers tortured those two black men same day. So apparently the detectives didn't share, for whatever reason, some video evidence of statements they had taken, et cetera, and the judge had to, or claimed like he had to honor the prosecution's request for a mistrial when they found out that discovery rules had not been followed. At least that's the way I understood it. So it does look like they will refile those charges. Attorney Carlos Moore, representing Mr. Gibson, said it was concerning the police withheld a potentially crucial piece of information which necessitated a mistrial. He said, I share the deep disappointment and frustration. A mistrial represents not just an administrative setback, but also a delay in justice for Mr. Gibson and his family. Attorney Moore said he'd asked the U.S. Department of Justice to look into Brookhaven Police Department's conduct as potential obstruction of justice. Okay, on the national news, but coming to us from The Hague, the Netherlands, in the Netherlands, the United States has asked the Netherlands and Denmark to deliver F-16s to Ukraine. This has been a point of contention for some time. This could give Ukraine a major edge and a war that's been going on for nearly 18 months. It was not immediately clear, according to this report on NBC News, exactly when those jets would arrive. There's all sorts of training, specialized training that has to take place for those Ukrainian pilots. Ukraine has long pleaded for these F-16 that look like they're finally going to be getting them. Out in Maui, so many people displaced, losing entire cities, towns out there. And this morning it was reported that the top emergency management official resigned one day after he defended his decision not to sound the warning sirens as fires swept across the island. The resignation of Herman Ondea, hope I'm pronouncing that right, the administrator of the Maui Emergency Management Agency, was effective immediately and was accepted by the mayor, Richard Bisson, Maui County Mayor Richard Bisson. Rosalind Carter celebrated her 96th birthday today. Jimmy Carter, 98. She celebrated with her husband and other family members while the surrounding community of Plains, Georgia, honors the former First Lady's years of public health advocacy. The latest milestone comes as Rosalind Carter navigates dementia. Jimmy Carter continues to receive hospice care. Yet they remain together in the small town where they were born, married, and that anchored Jimmy Carter's victorious 1976 presidential campaign. She'll have a quiet birthday celebration, according to the Carter Center. She plans to eat cupcakes and peanut butter ice cream, nodding to the couple's experience as Georgia peanut farmers, which became part of their political branding. Never heard any controversy, no scandals with the Carters. A lot of people say mistakes were made, but seem like decent people. Human beings do make mistakes. No scandals with those people. No scandals with Barack Obama either, I might add. Olympic gold medalist Tori Bowie's autopsy. We spoke to you about her passing, and just a phenomenal athlete. But the autopsy included an easy-to-overlook one-line notation between the heading, beneath the medical history heading, and that notation was bipolar disorder. in and around track circles where, this according to NBC News, where the champion sprinter's absence is hitting particularly hard heading into Saturday's opening in Hungary of the first World Championships since her death, Bowie's mental health struggles were more than an afterthought. They were a stark reality that came to light during training over the years. They also revealed themselves in the Florida neighborhood where police found her body days after the 32-year-old, who was 8 months pregnant, died at home due to what the coroner said were complications of childbirth. Quote, "It's not that she slipped through the cracks," her one-time coach, Al Joyner, told the Associated Press. "I think people didn't take it seriously enough. Bipolar disorder, a mental health condition that causes extreme mood swings, can be treatable with medication and counseling. However, the National Institute for Mental Health cites studies that say some 4.4% of U.S. adults who experience the disorder, 82.9% encounter serious impairment at some time or another." And for the first time in 3 years, Americans could head into the winter respiratory virus season with a measure of optimism, according to, and this is as COVID cases are now ticking upward, according to Dr. Mandy Cohen, director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Sometimes I hear these people speak, I get a little confused. I don't know about you, but so the numbers are ticking up, but at the same time, they're saying it's not at anything remotely close to pandemic levels. They're saying we have widespread immunity, and continue to get the booster shots, trying to reassure the public ahead of the typical cold and flu season, and I might add this RSV. I had to look it up. Respiratory syncytial virus. And speak to your doctor about that, because maybe that's something that you want to be vaccinated against also. So kind of like a three-headed monster going into this fall season, between the flu, COVID, and RSV. Let's take that seriously. The COVID was politicized greatly in this state of Mississippi, and consequently, Mississippi has the highest death rate of any state due to that. And so let's not let this get the best of us. Let's get those vaccines. Nothing political about it. The data is emphatically clear. If you do get it, and I do know people who have gotten it after getting, according to them, all their vaccines and boosters, but it's much more mild. It's not as pronounced and not as potentially lethal as it is if you didn't have those, have that coverage, have that protection. Another story on the national level, Ada Deer, an esteemed Native American leader from Wisconsin, first woman to lead the Bureau of Indian Affairs, died at age 88. Deer passed away Tuesday from natural causes. Members of her family, she had gone into hospice care just last month. She was born August 7th, 1935, on the Menominee Reservation in Kashina, Wisconsin. Deer's remembered as a trailblazer, a fierce advocate for tribal sovereignty, played a key role in reversing termination-era policies of the 1950s that took away people's federal tribal recognition. Ada was one of those extraordinary people who would see something that needed to change in the world and then make it her job and everyone else's job to see to it that it got changed, according to her godson, Ben Wickler, chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. She took America from the termination era to an unprecedented level of tribal sovereignty. She was the first member of her tribe to graduate from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, went on to become the first Native American to obtain a master's in social work from Columbia University. So that's it on the national level. And I just want to check. Thank you so much, folks, for coming on into the chat. We are always so glad to see you. Oh, there goes Tamika. And Mr. Williams, that's a good idea since the chief of police in Brookhaven. Oh, yeah. And, this is not happening just in, Lincoln County and Rankin County. This happened in Memphis, happening all over the place. And the Department of Justice is sending people in there to look at this, to look closely at, of course, not only the police brutality, but also the culture that these people are raised up in, these officers and so forth. So, like with this guy in Rankin County, for him to say, oh, my people lied to me, come on, dog. Come on, Sheriff. It's just don't add up. It just don't add up. It doesn't pass the sniff test. So, thank you guys for joining in the chat. And we've got just a few stories on the national level, but that's good because we're running out of time. Talk about the space race on the global level, rather, the space race back on. Now more countries, roughly 6 decades after the Soviet Union and the U.S. raced each other to the moon, a new competition is emerging, this time around the focus on the lunar South Pole, where scientists have detected traces of water ice that they're saying could provide rocket fuel and some other kind of stuff. Russia launched last week, first moon landing spacecraft in 47 years, expected to touch down in the area in the coming days. India not far behind. Then you got the U.S. not far behind, a mission planned for 2025 by the U.S. and China also looking at plans to go to the south pole of the moon with or without astronauts. So we'll see how that happens. Horrible fires in the Northwest Territories. As far away as Chicago today should be feeling the smoke effects of that. People need to take precautions and all. Rushing to beat the noon Friday deadline to evacuate many people from their homes. Hundreds of wildfires raging out there. Moved very close to a city of 20,000. Thousands fled on Thursday, driving hundreds of miles to safety. The fire was within 10 miles of Yellowknife's northern edge on Thursday. And the winds are just pushing those fires like crazy. 10 planes left Yellowknife yesterday with 1,500 passengers, said Jennifer Young, Director of Corporate Affairs for Northwest Territories Department of Municipal and Community Affairs, adding they hope to have 22 more flights going out today on Friday with another 1,800 passengers. We're running out of time here, but let me just say there's a summit. A lot of concern about what's going on over there in China and Taiwan. And President Biden is hosting a trilateral summit today at Camp David with the leaders of Japan and the leaders of South Korea. He feel like they could cooperate better together, so that's the goal of the summit, is to bring them in a little closer. So we thank you so much for joining us today on the We Believe Digital News Break. I want to spend 1 minute watching cable TV because you know it's going to be 90% of the coverage. Give We Believe Digital a try. All kinds of music, sports, religion, community interest, all kinds of programming going on. We'd love to have you join us. Take good care. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you back next Wednesday at 12.